Hello everyone, in this module we will demonstrate how you can design parking lots in Autodesk vehicle tracking, and this video covers how you can create a custom parking standard that meets your local requirements. Well, drawing parking lots in Autodesk vehicle tracking is as fast as just clicking. You see, it's like drawing a polyline. It's easy to edit it, extend the row, or maybe creating a new band, make a band around the middle of a row, or adjust it to a given geometry, change the angle of base or geometry of islands, and make parallel roads like this, and even defining access roads was just drawing a line, and almost everything you need to design a parking lot. Well, first of all, you need to choose a standard. Autodesk vehicle tracking comes with several regional standards, actually 16 standards, and you count down the list, and if there is one that matches your local standard, all the better. If not, then you need to create one by modifying one of these. In this case, you pick one of these predefined standards. I choose US parking standards, IT guideline for parking facility location and design. You may want to pick one that you think is closer to your local standard. Then you right click on it and click on edit a copy. Here you give it a name. How about my local standard? And you may want to add a description here. Remember to check for the units. I prefer meters. We're kind of done with this dialog box. Move on to the next one. Here, the end islands. End islands are the islands at the end or start of a row. And if you're concerned with the appearance, here is where you can make your changes. You can change the color, line type, and such. And here there are some criteria you're needed to fill in, and you need to look them out in your local standard. I'm here just gonna define them and maybe giving some logical values. Well, offset to adjacent bay is this little lateral clearances here between the edge of the bay, the little yellow line here, and the face of the island, and normally a minimum of 0.3 to 0.5 or 0.6 meter is acceptable. Side curve return is the radius you'd like to apply to round the corner of the end islands where it's adjacent to a bay, like this corner and this one here, and normally a minimum radius of 0.5 or greater is acceptable. And outer curve return is the radius you'd like to apply to round the corner of your end islands where it's adjacent to the access road, like this one here and also this one. This radius is related to the width of the access road, because larger this radius gets, the narrower access road will be needed. So you need to look at that in your local standard, but normally for an access road with a minimum width of 6 meter and low frequency of movements, or for an access road with a minimum width of 10.5 meter with high frequency of movements, minimum radius of 0.5 meter will be appropriate. Minimum internal width is the minimum width of end islands at any point, and especially if you like to provide a footpath along the road, you may want to pick a minimum of 1.2 meter unless your local standard requires a greater one. Well, based on the length of the road and the width of the base and the minimum size of the islands, normally always there is an extra width that it's not large enough to produce an extra bay. So the software split that extra width between the adjacent actually islands, and if you unclick allow width to increase, then the software will keep the first island at the minimum size and will add that extra width to the next island based on the direction you draw this row at the first place. Well, the software is not able to give a minimum width to the end islands or band islands, so it's wide enough to fit this radius and outer curve return. So you may want to pick a value as or greater than plus the side curve return and outer curve return as a minimum width at curve. So there will be enough width for end islands, so the software will be able to round the corners of the end islands based on this radius you have specified in this step. And here you can control the hatch, the angle, spacing, and you can also introduce cross hatch, or you may want to leave these values to the predefined ones. Well, we're done with the end islands. Let's move on to the bend islands. Well, bend islands are the islands at the point you've made a bend along a road, like this one here. You've got again line style, offset to adjacent base, base side curve return. You may want to use the same values you've defined for end islands and for outer curve return. Outer curve return is actually the radius that the software will use to round this corner here, and if it's wide enough for the middle curve at this side of the bend island. Well, it has a critical effect on the needed width of the aisle adjacent to it. And normally for two-way aisles as wide as 6 meter or one-way aisles as wide as 3.5 meter, normally a minimum radius of 3.5 meter is required. Minimum internal width again is the minimum width of the bend islands at any point. Normally it happens along the baseline here, and the description for allow width to increase is the same as we just mentioned for end islands. And minimum width at curve, unlike the end islands, you don't need to define a minimum value as the sum of base side curve return and outer curve return, because with a normal angle between the side of a bend, normally there is enough width, so the software will able to apply the minimum radius of like 3.5 meter or greater. If not, then you will need to edit some individual bend islands. So you may want to define the same minimum you've defined for minimum internal width, which is normally 1.2 meter. All right, we're done with the islands. Let's move on to the bay dimensions. Well, here at bay dimensions, we got service type. Defining several service types as a mean to consider the effective frequency of movements within a parking lot and the needed widths for aisles and also access roads. So the higher frequency of movements within a parking lot, the wider aisles and also access road will be needed. Sometimes even you'll be required to provide a footpath within the parking lot. Here you can define the minimum width for the footpath. So you need to look it out in your local standard and then fill in these roads, and you can define as many service type by just clicking on new for adding a new service type, or clicking on delete for deleting any predefined service type. The next step is vehicle classes. Well, here again, according to your local standard, you'll be needed to define your vehicles, and here you'll actually fill in the needed lengths for the bay and also the needed widths for the bay based on your local standard. Normally a bay length of 5 meter and a bay width of 2.5 meter is actually required. All right, again, you can add a new vehicle here by clicking on new, and you can also delete any of these by just clicking on, for example, delete. All right, let's move on to the valid bay angles. Again, according to your local standard, normally you got 45, 60, 75, and 90 degree for bay angles, and sometimes some standards also says that 30 degree is also acceptable. And for parallel parking, you'll need to define a new angle which is equal to 0 here. All right, once you fill in all these criteria, then you go to bay dimensions. Here at bay dimensions, based on the service types, vehicle classes, angle, and the dimensions of the bays you've defined in these 3 previous steps, you get these figures for widths, lengths, and depths of the bays, and also the widths for aisles, either one-way or two-way aisles. You need to check these out and make sure that they're correct according to your local standard. You may want to override them to round them a bit up or down sometimes, or even correct them. All right, we're done with bay dimensions, and the last one is bay style. Well, most of items here are dealing with the appearance of the bays. You can define markings, symbols, numbering, for example, wheel stops at the end of the bays, safety posts, privacy posts, parking meters. These are actually things that you may want to change it and then go draw some rows, see if you're satisfied. If not, then get back and change it again until you get something that you're satisfied with. But something here that is kind of more important is the safety zone, which is actually to define the dimensions and size of the bays that will be designated to people with some disabilities. Here you can define extra widths for a driver, which means there will be some extra widths on the driver's side of the bay, which is normally 1 meter, and here extra widths for passenger. Some local standards do not require it, and extra on entrance will be added widths that you will define at the entrance of a parking bay that gonna be designated to people with some disability, and will draw safety zone. It will hatch it and draw it. You will be needed to look these actually criteria out in your local standard. All right, when you're done with the changes in all these tabs, you will go to the bay styles and click any that you want to be a period on your drawing. All right, when you've defined all your criteria, it's time to click on OK, and here in the pool you can see the standard that you've just created. Well, I've got this one in the pool because I draw this parking with this predefined standard. So you may don't want to need this step, but I need to close up this dialog box here, go delete this drawing and get back to be able to delete this one. So because as you can see, I can delete this one because there is an existing drawing based on this predefined standard. So I close up this dialog box and delete this drawing. Again, go to the standard. Now here I can delete this one. All right, all I've got in the pool is my local standard. Now I click on the word pool and right click here, click on edit, give it a name, for example, again, my local standard. Then click OK. Now again click on my local standard and click on Save Parking Standard File As. Here you again write your name with the extension of ATS, my local standard, and it will save your standard in this address. Okay, here if you click on OK and close out of the Civil 3D and relaunch it again, you will see your standard that you just create in this dialog box. I'm gonna close it up, so I pause the video and I'll start when it's relaunched again. Alright, I just relaunched the Autodesk Civil 3D. If you go to Parking Standard Explorer, and now you can see the standard that you've just created and use it for your next designing of parking lots. Okay, we're done with creating a custom parking standard, and in the next videos we will go about designing parking lots. I hope it was helpful. Thanks for watching and giving part of your daytime. I say goodbye for now.